Welcome to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Podcast, where we delve into the powerful benefits of a holistic, high raw vegan lifestyle for achieving optimal health, brain function, and overall well being. I'm your host, Samantha Salmon, your certified brain optimization coach. And today we're talking about how to really piece together community, a support system to help fuel your goals. If you're on a weight loss journey, and you're looking to release excess fat to be healthier, to have a better quality of life, pass on health legacy to your kids, to your grandchildren, this is the place to be. We are going to be talking about how to put together a support system that allows you to do just that, to make that happen. First thing is first, right? Social connections are really important when it comes to cognitive health, and cognitive health plays a huge role in order to make this happen. What is the connection? So your goal is to release excess fat, right? But you've been struggling to do it. And what I find is for a lot of folks, if we pay attention to how the brain works, there's different types of overeating, which is causing the excess fat to accumulate. There are 5 different brain types that's associated with obesity, okay, which is basically excess fat in excess of excess, right? The medical system, they have a chart of what they consider to be normal weight, then overweight, and then beyond overweight, you get into obesity, but it's basically the accumulation of excess fat. So there's 5 different brain types. There's the impulsive overeaters that have low prefrontal cortex function. The prefrontal cortex is the front part of your brain, right? The CEO of your brain that manages everything, basically your decision making, thinking through consequences for those decisions. Impulsive overeaters, they tend to be easily distracted, so they can't stick to a diet plan and they have trouble saying no to food. Then you have the compulsive eaters. Those are the folks with the high activity in the anterior cingulate. And if any of this is really interesting to you, I do a lot of trainings on brain health, the different parts of the brain, what they manage, all of this. The anterior cingulate is basically your brain's gear shifter. When it's overactive, you tend to worry a lot. You may have obsessive compulsive symptoms and behaviors. But these folks, they think about food and they feel compulsively driven without a sense of control. So it's not necessarily that you're hungry, but the thought of that food is just sitting on your mind and you cannot release it. It just won't go away. Like the hamster on the wheel, just this thought just sits and circulates in your head. That's the compulsive. Then you have the impulsive and compulsive overeating brain with low prefrontal cortex activity and high anterior cingulate. So your prefrontal cortex drops function. Basically, you're not able to make wise choices, and your anterior cingulate's overactive. So the thought on the food is just sitting there going over and over again. So of course, you're going to eat the thing that you know is not helping you progress to your goal, right? Then you have the sad overeaters. They have an overactive limbic system, which they tend to medicate these feelings, these sad feelings, with food, right? And as a consequence of that, they gain excess fat, especially in the winter time, because there's decreased vitamin D levels, which interferes with the hormone leptin, which is critical when we're looking to having a healthy body weight. And because that hormone tells us when to stop eating, right? So we need that hormone to work properly. And then you have also the anxious overeaters, high activity in the basal ganglia. This type eats to soothe anxiety, right? And I think I have a blog on my site on, by the time I post this, I will have the blog on my site on social anxiety and what to do, right? Because I know for this brain type, they go to social events and they're drinking the alcohol to cope, or they're eating the bread at the table because they need something to do. They need to do something because they just feel out of sorts in this environment. And so I have a blog post. It will be posted by the time this is posted. So check the description or the show notes to this video for that resource if you identify with this as an anxious overeater. Okay. So with this in mind, this is how your weight loss journey is affected by the health of your brain. In particular, we talked about all the different parts, basically the basal ganglia, the limbic system, the prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate, a lot of which I cover in my Beat Stress Eating program. And we dive even deeper in my Conquer Your Cravings program, right? Because we're talking about unhealthy food addiction. So how does this plays a role in overeating, but how does it play a role in addiction to processed foods, right? Where we know we need to not eat the thing, but we just can't stop eating the thing. These are 5. And then there's a 6th one when we go into talking about addiction. Plus, we have action plans, resources, recipes, meal plans, and wraparound support. So that's what I want to tell you about here. Okay. Social connections and cognitive health is super important. Now, one of the things that you just heard me say is specifically when it comes into play of the sad overeater, right? The sad overeater, why is the person sad? That's the question. Why is the person sad? A lot of times what I find is loneliness is an issue, right? And as I train on, you don't want to get too lonely because that will trigger unhealthy food addictions, that will trigger overeating, right? And so having social connections is critical. And how do you do this in a health environment in order to reach your goals? Because we're most like the people we hang around with, right? And you probably spend a lot of time with your family. You're not going to change them. You can find new healthy friends, maybe join a running group or a walking group or a spin class or something where other folks are gathering who like being fit, maybe a gym, a local gym, or eating at a place that they sell healthy food, or shopping at the grocery store where they sell healthy food. So these are areas where you would find health conscious people at the farmers market, people who actually care about the quality of the food that they're eating. They invest in this, they spend the time to go out of their way to go to these places. That's where you're going to find your people, right? But having a regular connection with someone that's going to help you stay on track and also do things that help to relieve the stress and improve your emotional well-being. And this is what we have in my Conquer Your Cravings program, because you literally meet weekly, not just with me as your coach. So we coach through any obstacles and challenges, but you're also meeting with a trainer every week in person to work out, get blood flow to the brain, to make sure that your prefrontal cortex is functioning properly so you can make wise choices. Okay. You want to identify your support network, identify those needs, right? So evaluate your current relationships, identify those who consistently offer encouragement and positivity. You have those people who they are your biggest supporters, and other people who are, what would we call them? Not necessarily, they're adversaries to your goal, but they're the ones that will egg you on when you're saying, "Oh, I could just have this hot dog or whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, let's just have the hot dog. You're trying to do the thing, but who cares?" So those people, you really need to be mindful of those people, because you're trying to do a new thing and step into a healthy identity. Those folks are not going to help you. They're enablers. They're enablers of unhealthy food addiction. Okay. And we want to understand that these people may be loving people, they may be people you like or whatnot. However, they don't serve you in this moment. So I would say give yourself the gift of a 6-month break from these people. If you have to talk to them minimally, and if they reach out and they're highly concerned, just say, "I am on this health journey. And I find that when we're together, there are things you say and do that support my bad habits. And I just need to really focus in on my self-care practice right now. And when I'm done with this and I feel stronger in my commitments to myself, then we can reconnect and spend more time. But for now, I just need to take this time for myself." Be honest with people. I find that sometimes people are afraid to say no because they're uncomfortable with setting healthy boundaries. You cannot get healthy or even have the life you want if you don't set healthy boundaries. You teach people how to treat you, okay? And so you are in control as an adult on who is in your space, who is impacting you, influencing you, right? Even me in particular, I'm down for the vegan cause and all that, but even on social media, on Instagram, all the food porn with all this unhealthy food, that stuff looks delicious. And I know my brain is an overeater brain, okay? It's a glutton, right? It's a glutton. And I cannot look at all that stuff. All right. It's not helping me. It's not serving me because I know if I go down that road, it's only discomfort for me and moving away from my own goals of having a healthy brain, one that is focused and has energy and has the capacity for love and caring for me to show up and do my work as a coach at the top, at the highest level, and also show up for my family, because how we eat affects our brain function, right? Our ability to be patient, to be loving, to just hold space for people, right? That's what builds strong relationships. And if your brain and body is under stress from the foods that you're eating, then you don't have the capacity to do that, right? So because of all that, I have cleansed, detoxed my Instagram a long time ago where I don't follow those people, right? There are people out there who love that. There's so much love and appreciation for food porn, but I don't do it. I'm talking about vegan accounts that have all the vegan junk foods or even the pastas. Maybe they may be considered clean to some people. They're not the types of foods that support me and my health, and so I just don't follow it. I don't want to see it. I don't follow it. Like an alcoholic that doesn't walk into a bar because they know they can't sit in the bar and not get triggered to drink the alcohol, which then sets off a whole bunch of cascading events, right? I've never drank alcohol, but even as a whole food vegan eater, there's certain foods that do not make my brain function well. And so I don't put myself in a position to be influenced or swayed one way or the other by it. You understand? You have to set up the environment for yourself. Okay. So make a list of the people who inspire you and motivate you. Cleanse your social media accounts. Focus in on the accounts that are actually that are reinforcing the behaviors you want. Okay. Now, another tip is to build new supportive relationships, right? Attending events, joining online forums to meet new people. So I talked about different ways to meet people in person, but also you could stay tapped in online. So I have a free group, a free community. There are other communities as well. There are nonprofits that have raw food programming, low cost community support. Heart Smarts is one that I talk at regularly. Plant Powered New York, Plant Powered Metro New York is another one that I support in New York. Physicians Committee has some stuff. Dr. Baxter Montgomery has a great community. If you've attended the Thrive Through Food Summit, you see all of the speakers, they have some kind of community that they have going on. Now, in my Conquer Your Cravings program, it's very high touch wraparound services. So you get me as your coach, we meet virtually, and then you get the trainer that you meet in person. You also get raw food delivered to you. So these are the wraparound services. But in terms of being in a group, these other options are available to you. You want to maintain positive relationships, right? Prioritize regular check-ins and quality time with that support network. Lean into them, spend time with them. So in my program, Conquer Your Cravings, I'm meeting with my client once a week. They're meeting with the trainer once a week. They're getting raw foods delivered every week, right? So there's regular touch points. Plus, in my coaching platform, folks are able to take photos of their meals and track everything and see the calorie breakdown, see the macro breakdown, and really see what's going on, just so that they can see, what are my goals? Am I operating in alignment with my goals? So if you find yourself getting really wrapped up in work and just too busy, then you may want to set some reminders to check in with your key people to keep you on track. Like even me personally, I meet once a week with my trainer because I know before this happened, before I got a trainer, I was pretty good at keeping myself accountable, but then work got really, it moved up into area focus, like high priority, where I was like head and neck deep in work, that I knew that if I didn't have outside accountability, it would fall off because my head was so involved in work and some new programming and things that I'm doing, right? So I got that outside accountability, which kept my strength training at the forefront. right? So it's not a goal or a priority that I've let go. I've been able to add on by getting this extra support of this outside accountability where we check with each other weekly, right? Because I'm working out with her every week. Okay. Now, if you're trying to build that friendship circle and you're going to these different events where maybe you're going to a raw vegan restaurant or juice bar and you're meeting people there, invest time in understanding these people, their interests, their goals, right? I find this is my acronym for how to build quality relationships is you want to share the tea, okay? Share the tea. T is an acronym for time, energy, and attention. This is what's going to have people falling in love with you. And then you will also get to know them better to build a strong bond. Have regular meetups with them, one on one juice dates, green juice dates, or smoothie dates, right? Maybe you could go walking together, meet up and do some kind of physical activity together out in the sun. In California, I used to love to do this. I met up with friends, people that I worked on food policy with, different people that I met to go hiking in the sun and stuff. And those types of environments is where it's like, oh, okay, we've graduated to a new level of friendship, right? We took it from work and activism in the community to now actually spending like real time together where there's no agenda. It's just us spending time. So lean into that. And also, as you're going through this journey, journal about it. Of course, I'm going to talk about journaling because I'm a big fan of journaling. I find that instead of staying stuck in our heads, we can get these thoughts on paper, and that will actually teach us so much. Because in coaching, what I do is a lot of reflection that is intentional and part of the coaching process. It helps people make progress when they get to hear back what the thoughts that they're telling themselves, right? And we can look over that and what clues are here and what's real, what's not real, what's helpful, what's not helpful, right? Where are we stuck? You can actually see where you're stuck when you get it out on paper and you journal about this, right? So you journal about it and it will help you to recognize and actually make notes of what's been helpful for you, right? Like, how is this helping boost your cognitive function and move toward your goals? You can share your goals with these people because you'll probably feel more confident sharing your goals with these folks of like mind who are probably where you want to be or on the same journey as you. Now, all of this is with the intention to foster deep relationships. And yes, you have to reach out. You have to reach out. You have to do the work of actually meeting these people, of maybe introducing yourself. But having that social network and that social support will allow you to have greater resilience, reduce stress, and better mental health. You'll be more inclined to stick to healthy habits. Now, in that network, make sure you have somebody who is going to support your growth in terms of someone who's going to challenge you and inspire you. Okay. So, like for me, I was working out on my own and it was fine. I was making gains. I was dropping body fat, building muscle mass. But when I got a trainer, like she took my strength training to a whole nother level because she challenged me in a way I know I would never challenge myself. I would never do that to myself. And it's good. It's good to have someone like that where weekly I'm being challenged. It's not so my body, Dr. Mindy Pelz, when she has a book called Fasting Like a Girl, one of the things she talks about is metabolic switching, right? And how your body does better when it has this metabolic flexibility. One of the things that plays a role in that is your exercise routine, right? So if you keep doing the same thing, you may find that your strength stalls, fat loss stalls, but most importantly, I'm talking about for me personally, my goals is to increase muscle mass, decrease body fat, right? And so if I'm trying to increase muscle mass, I could be at home using 10-pound weights and that'll feel good and it'll probably even burn on that last set, right? But when I'm with her, not only am I doing the weights, but I'm going up in weight because she's challenging me with the weights. I'm going up and then also challenging me with the reps because she has me going up. And she's like, you could do it, you could do it. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. Like literally, I remember one time on one machine where I'm like on the leg press, but it's the one where the machine is like on top of you and you're underneath, which is super scary for me. And I literally was bargaining. I cannot do anymore. My legs were shaking, or they were shaking. And she was like, you could do one more. And I'm telling you, I squeezed that out. I would have never done that to myself. But I know for a fact, like my legs, I've been gawking at them in the mirror every night when I take my shower. Man, these are some beautiful, beautifully shaped legs. And it came with work. It came with work. But that's because she pushes me. So, when it comes to family dynamics, right? I know this is a huge issue for a lot of folks. There is a role that can be played in terms of strengthening family bonds for cognitive health, not just for you, but for the entire family, right? So, my whole thing, what I encourage you to do is become a brain health leader for yourself and become the model for your family, and also teach the young ones still have a moldable brain, right? Their brains aren't fully developed until their mid 20s. So you have a lot of time to influence, to encourage, to set the environment by making sure certain foods are available, and other non-foods, chemical substances that are being sold as food in the grocery store, like ultra processed foods, are not available, right? Make it harder for those foods to be, for those items to be consumed by them, by a developing brain, right? Because they're having impact on it. That's why we have such high rates of ADD, autism, and all of this stuff, right? So how do you do this? Well, regular, meaningful interaction. So back in my day growing up, we used to, because both my parents owned businesses, super busy. I hardly saw them actually, but we had meaningful days every week. So, like, my mom had a hair salon. So her weekend was Sunday, Monday. And of course, I had school Monday, but at least when I came home from school, she was there. And I had my time with her was basically like Sunday and Monday after school. And then my dad, we had a whole thing of, I would have my dance class on Saturday mornings, or for a 4-year period, it was piano class. But after, he would take me to McDonald's. Okay. My dad wasn't really into healthy eating. He would take me to McDonald's after. But Sunday morning and Sunday dinner time was like our meal time together every week, right? We did that together as a family. And during that time, my dad's really into politics. So we talked a lot about politics. Of course, my mom and I went to church. She's very much into church, right? So the things that were important to them got passed on to me in that environment, right? Where the conversations we had were really focused on the things that they thought were important, right? This is an opportunity I find for families today, where if you're going to have family meals, you can talk about what's on the table and why it's on the table. Like, what's so healthy about it? What does it do for the brain? This means that you then have to up your nutrition IQ, right? So you get clear on it. And use that time to build connection, because you have more influence with people when you have that strong, deep bond, right? So time, energy, and attention. We could go even deeper into this on how do you create that. A really great book I highly recommend by Dr. Daniel Amen that recently came out is called Mentally Strong Kids. So if you have young children that you are looking to build relationships with and want to influence in terms of their healthy eating and lifestyle, I think that book is really great because it talks about how to have a strong relationship with your children, where they actually feel safe coming to you for stuff. They listen, you have some level of influence with them. I think that's a really great resource, because when we meet for mealtime, it's a great opportunity for education. And not just mealtime, but family activities that involve like outdoor physical stuff, like playing frisbee or whatever. I know when I used to go to my cousin's house, we would always do something: bike riding, rollerblading, swimming. They always had us doing something active. So maybe you could become the family that does active stuff, especially for the summertime. The weather's nice, it looks beautiful. If you're in Manhattan, Central Park is huge. There's so many things you could be doing, right? And finally, feel free to leverage technology to maintain connections, like I said before, but beyond that, beyond what I mentioned, there are some great tools out there. Fitbit, Peloton is super like popular, and they have, even though it's a at home piece of equipment, there is a community aspect to it. Even Beachbody has something like this with their Bodies. Like, you can work out by yourself with the videos, but there's a community aspect where you can work out with people online. So if that works better for you, like you're one of those people who you don't like going in the gym or something like this, you don't want to meet with people for whatever reason, even though I think that's a huge role, like in terms of the accountability. Like, people will ignore exercise on their calendar, but they won't ignore someone showing up to their door, right? So just keep that in mind. If you're really trying to get at this goal, you want to go full force on what actually is known to work. But technology is a great asset, and you could lean into that. Like I said, the Fitbit, you can be in competition with your family members, with your coworkers, with other friends on who's moving more. And so these are just some fun tips. Now, if you want to learn more about how to support the health of your brain and really become that health leader that our generation needs at this moment, that this world needs right now, right? Because we're coming up to an election uh right now, and folks are talking about Biden's age and his brain, how it doesn't seem to be functioning well, and pointing to his age. And I just want to tell you, his age has nothing to do with it. I have family members at that age right now, and they're cognitively sharp. There's some things that some people are doing for a sharp mind in their 80s and 90s that other folks aren't doing. So get ahead of the game and join me on my upcoming webinar called Unlock Your Brain's Potential: Foundational Principles and Practical Strategies for Cognitive Performance. You're going to find out what you need to know in order to improve cognitive abilities, right? So that your mind can be sharp, your mood can be well balanced, right? And you can have the capacity to be a loving presence for your family through retirement into your last days, right? You want to be sharp and there for them, right? And keep your personality, because that's what's happening when folks have advanced cognitive decline, which is basically dementia. Their whole personality changed because the brain is the organ of your personality. It is dictating how you show up and what you say, how you think, feel, and behave. So we want to make sure to keep that organ as healthy as possible for as long as possible. So I highly recommend that you sign up for my webinar on July 9th, and I can't wait to see you there. And with that, have a great day.